Unfortunately, it is by no means obvious that politicians will always do what's better for their citizens. Sometimes, it might seem like they're looking for their own benefit and those related to them. While some could argue that politicians fairly designate or help relatives into certain influential positions, others believe this phenomenon should not be justified. Even so, some people claim that politicians' relatives obtain occupation of higher regard when they are in office. However, does the evidence support these allegations? Marcel Favchamps and Julian Slabon's research seeks to study the utility of political connections for people, using the Philippines as an example. To be more precise, the paper tests whether individuals who are related to a successful local politician are more or less likely to be employed in a more distinguished and remunerative profession in comparison to a situation where their relative was not in the same position. Hence, the research question of the paper is, do politicians' relatives get better jobs? Evident from municipal elections. Favchamps and Labon's paper is of the utmost importance since it extensively contributes to the existing research of political connections and its effects. It utilizes a thorough dataset considering vast municipalities and detailed electoral data. It employs family names as a form of link to local politicians instead of self-reported methods. It makes use of distinct control groups estimating the value of connection to a winning candidate against the possible cost of connection to a losing one, and it demonstrates unequal opportunity.
The paper is set up in the Philippines, where municipal elections occur every 3 years. Philippine municipalities hold a considerable number of fiscal resources and decision-making power, thus being a great environment to assess discretionary power of politicians. Further, the country is also well known for the value given to those who remain loyal to their local mayor. So in this case, the paper studies the period between the local elections of May 2007 and May 2010. The authors retrieved 20 million observations on name, age, occupation, and education in 709 municipalities, with data collected between 2008 and April 2010. Later, they obtained all candidates' names of the elections, and to assess connections with politicians, compare the middle and last names of the citizens living in the same municipality, as the Spanish rule in the 19th century imposed last names in each city to be unique. The paper uses a regression discontinuity design to compare the occupation, mainly managerial positions, of the relatives of politicians who won 2007 elections by a narrow margin to those relatives of those who narrowly lost the same election. Further, authors created 3 control groups. The first one are relatives of unsuccessful 2007 candidates. The second one are relatives of 2010 candidates, and the third one are the relatives of the 2010 successful candidates. All this to net out other possible factors in the regression.
The authors of the paper find robust evidence that relatives of current office holders are more likely to be employed in better paying occupations. This effect is present throughout all occupations, but mostly at the top. For example, 3.3% of individuals connected to successful candidates in the 2007 elections are employed in a managerial role, compared with only 2% of the population as a whole. And the number for fishermen or farmers is 29.2%, compared with the 26.5% of the general population. The impact of family connections varies with different characteristics. For example, impact is stronger for more educated individuals, especially if they have some university education. The effect of connections on a higher probability of being employed is lower for women than it is for men in managerial positions and remains similar for other occupations. A family connection has a stronger effect on occupation if the connection is to the mayor than a vice mayor or a local councillor. Political connections have a strong positive impact on the probability of being employed in a better paid occupation, and also affect negatively the probability for relatives of a candidate who lost, but almost won, meaning there are also costs of being related to a politician who almost won. In sum, the paper shows that the effect of political connections on better paid occupations is economically and statistically significant. The paper, thus, documents a failure of equal opportunity.